Hello and welcome back to the Run Lift Eat Evolve podcast. Today we have a special guest, Matty Alexander. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good, mate. Cheers.
So in today's episode, we're going to discuss all things about programming and training at home, which is very much what we've had to adapt to in the last 12 months, and we're going to still have to adapt to for the next few months going forward. So just a little intro into Matt. So I actually met Matt back in 2005. We went through phase 2 of our basic training together. So we both joined the army in 2004, went through phase 2 of our army training together in 2005. And then Matt and I left the army in 2012 and went to St. Mary's University. So Matt went there and done a full degree in strength and conditioning science. And then from then, Matt's worked at Fitness First as a self-employed personal trainer, worked with a load of athletes in rowing and hockey, and then he's moved on to Equinox now, where he's the TRX trainer there at Bishopsgate, and TRX is their lifestyle coaching model. And then in Matt's sporting background, you played hockey since a very young age, and you played hockey at a very high level, to be fair. Matt played hockey for the Tri-Service, which is the best at the Army, Navy and Air Force. And from then, you played for a few local clubs, and you now represent Hockey for Heroes, which is an Army charity. Do you want to tell us a bit about Hockey for Heroes and what you're doing now with that?
Yeah, so Hockey for Heroes, I think, started up when I left when we left the army, so 2012, and the idea was just a bunch of ex-army and Navy and Air Force guys who'd all played together in tri-services and across the time that we served to do some sort of endurance event to raise money directly for Help for Heroes. So our first one, I got a phone call from one of mates, Gary Ryder. He was just like, we're putting together a team. The idea is to play a season's worth of hockey in a week, which was 21 games, but we made it up to 23 games, I think. So that was the first tour, and then it snowballed. Then from there, second tour was then 30 games of hockey in 10 days plus the Three Peaks Challenge, and then the last one we did was 30 games of hockey, and we put our mate Dom, who is tetraplegic, on a stretcher from the hockey centre in Cardiff in Wales, and carried him all the way then to Bisham Abbey, where the English Institute of Sport is. So it was 200 miles, so 30 games, 200 miles in 10 days. And then last year we were meant to do, I don't know how I feel about this. It was probably going to be the toughest one we've ever done. So it was meant to have been a 30 games of hockey. That's apparently the standard now. Is three games a day over 10 days. But we were going to start off by rowing the channel, and then doing the 3 separate stages of an Ironman. So but on separate days interwoven with all the hockey. But obviously then with COVID and stuff like that got binned off, and we were meant to have been doing similar sort of stuff this year, but that looks like it's going to get pushed back. We're kind of looking at perhaps doing something in August if restrictions and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you went to base camp.
Yeah.
How did you figure out you went to base camp?
Yeah. So when was that? That was not like 2019, I think. Okay. I forget. So we went out to Nepal and set the world record for the highest game of hockey ever played at Everest Base Camp. Which was pretty cool.
Good. Okay, so that's kind of on hold at the moment, and I know you was doing quite a lot of swimming training last year to try to get ready for the Ironman swim. What's your plan this year? What events have you got lined up? What's your sporting kind of plan this year if things do start to open?
So we've got the
London Triathlon together.
Yeah, Yeah, so we've got that coming up. The London Duathlon that you took me into to doing has been
Yeah,
pushed back to September. So
September.
that's
Yeah,
September, and then we're then both going to do the I can't remember what it's called now. It's the Wales
the
Ironman thing
sportive. Yeah,
across.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Welsh
yeah. So
sportive. Yeah,
so the Ironman event over 3 days, but I mean you're just going to do the
just a
cycling bit.
cycle. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just the cycle. Yeah, I'm not quite up for a marathon, and
No,
I was horrible at swimming last year, so without
yeah.
having any practice this year, yeah, I'm definitely not going to attempt the swim. I think we spoke about perhaps doing the Swift event on was it the 13th of March?
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about. I don't know if I want to do that.
From
So I was literally about to talk to you guys about that tomorrow. So there's an ultra endurance event going on Swift, the indoor cycling platform that we use, and Matty and my mate Sam, we was going to do it together. It's a 3-man team, 12 hours of cycling, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the plan was to set the bikes up, table full of food, Netflix on, and just put in a hard shift for 12 hours. But I've already lost the motivation and the willpower to do that. But now you call me out live on my podcast, I might reconsider.
you're gonna have to do it now, aren't you?
So, okay, so that's all the cycling running. Are you back in the hockey in September? Or is that the big question?
Yeah, hopefully.
Club
Yeah,
hockey?
yeah,
One more year?
yeah. As you know, I've messed around with playing club stuff on and off ever since I left the army. I think the difficulty is that I mean you have such busy Monday through the Fridays, Saturdays. Yeah, I didn't really want to go and do more fizz on the weekend. But yeah, I am starting to miss it. I think before Christmas played a bit of mixed stuff on the Sunday, and that felt good. So yeah, so it'd be good to get some regular competitiveness in and that we can
see what happens, mate. We've got a lot of cycling to do before now and then.
Yeah.
Right. So the point of this podcast is to talk about home training, talk about programming, and when it comes to programming, if you wonder what PTs talk about when they're together, Matt and I forever talk about programming. You know, we'd go through, especially more last year when you're in the gym, you're training for the CrossFit Open or something, and we'd talk about strength cycles, and I'm like, Matt, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you reckon? Could that work? Yeah, that would work. That'd be a good way. That'd be a good approach. And we forever just ask questions about programming, and it's some of our favourite conversations we have. So I thought we'll bring that to the podcast and talk about training at home because things have changed, programming changes. You know, people have got limited care, and some people will be going back to gyms as second they open. Some will be maybe a bit later on in the year. All depends on work and where they live and their situation. So I thought now was a good time to talk about home training. Well, actually, last April would have been better to talk about home training, but the podcast didn't exist then, so we're going to talk about it now. So let's talk about gym kit. So people know that I've got Dell Box, my home gym in the garden, so I'm quite fortunate to have barbell plates and a load of dumbbells. What gym kit do you have currently available, and kind of what do you advise people to kind of get?
So we managed to acquire last lockdown through you a pair of 15 kilo dumbbells, like the Hex dumbbells, and a pair of 20 kilo kettlebells. Mm-hmm. And then I got a TRX that isn't a TRX. So it was off a website called the Physio Room, I think.
Oh,
yeah. Essentially, it's a suspension trainer, but it's 40 quid instead of being 140 quid. Does exactly the same, and a set of rings, and a couple of
some bands.
Some bands, skipping rope. That I don't think I've ever used.
My go-to, what I tell people to buy is a medium set of dumbbells, one heavy kettlebell, a mix of bands, especially like the red and the black band, and then like a skipping rope. You can do a hell of a lot of stuff with that. Okay, so then I want to talk about having structure in your training, because a drum I try to constantly bang is have structure in your training. Don't just wing it, don't just make things up. And I think it's easy when you're in the gym, you can have set days off, and it's easy to jump into a program. But I think people at home, don't really have that structure. And I kind of wanted to talk to the importance about structure and not just chasing intensity.
Yeah,
Which I think is the issue with people working at home.
Yeah, I think, well, with structure, I think everyone's struggling with it at the moment. You know, no one's got any structure in their life at all. But I think if you can bring some structure into your training, then that's going to help bring structure into everything else, and it's going to help to, you know, prevent injuries, but also help you progress rather than just doing, you know, just a bunch of random stuff at like a really high in intensity. The likelihood is you're probably going to get injured at some point, or you're just going to stay where you are because your body's not getting the right amount of stimulus to the right places to force it to grow and become and to become stronger or faster or better. So the structure has to be there, but there's also the flip side is that, you know, doing something is better than doing nothing. But then this is I suppose where you really find out where, you know, you need good places to go to for good advice. And you know, if the people you're following and stuff like that are doing random stuff, then the chances are they're not the people to be following. You know, if you're reading up and following people who are just doing the basics consistently week in week out, then they're probably the people then to be taking advice from, because it's not being strong, fit and everything like that, it's not overly glamorous. Like, you're not having to do, you know, all these fancy exercises and stuff like that in a completely different mixture of stuff. Mm-hmm. You're just going to need that structure then, as you know, just to kind of, you know, ramp up the intensity and the volume, and then start layering in some complexity then on top of that, then to help you carry on going forwards. But basically, you're not going to go wrong with structured fundamentals.
Yeah, and that's what everyone should be able to do right now. Like, I feel what normally happens is, well, it's like the January rush, right? So take away just like a normal year. What people tend to do is have a really bad December where they don't do much. Then January they just chase intensity, intense every day, you know, for 2-3 weeks, and then they just burn out. And I think, and that's in the normal gym world. I think in the home training at home world, people have done that earlier on, getting excited, doing random Instagram workouts, and they just kind of reach the point where they're just like, oh, I can't be bothered to do burpees in my bedroom and high knees anymore. And you don't need to do that every day. There is better ways to train. And I was talking to Sam last week on last week's podcast about like the 80 to kind of 20 approach of like, your week doesn't need to be 100% intense. You know, you can have, you know, 20% high intensity work is great, where you really push yourself. 8% of just consistency and structure and fundamentals, which you was talking about. That's such a better way to go. That's such a better long-term sustainable approach to training. But with HIIT being very much the thing at the moment, well, it's always been the thing. If it hurts, it works. If you're sweating, you feel like you've done something.
We'll HIIT. I don't know whether you know it, and so the study around, there was a paper that came out, like the predominant HIIT paper that came out, that was high intensity interval training. That's what HIIT stands for, compared to steady state cardio, and they compared it over, I think it was over 12 weeks, but they monitored it for longer. So over the 12-week period, yes, you got more improvement in fat loss and cardio improvement within the first 12 weeks, but long term, the HIIT group plateaued while the steady state group continued to improve. And I don't think a lot of people know that and really understand the mechanisms behind HIIT training and actually is what's going on. We just get it shoved in our face the whole time that, you know, you can do this kind of 15-20 minute workout and you'll burn belly fat, and, you know, you get 6-pack abs, and you know, it's the same old, like, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way in those 15-20 minutes that
Yeah.
you're going to get those insane results of that person who's telling you that, because guess what, they don't do that either. Right?
Yeah.
That instructor there stood there taking you through that HIIT workout, they don't do any of that. Like, they take that class, and then and we've seen it in gyms and stuff like that. They will take one of those HIIT classes, they go grab some food, and then afterwards you'll see them on the gym floor doing, you know, like a bodybuilding style workout, you know, working heavy loads, you know, time
Following
under
strength
tension.
cycles.
Yeah, doing decent strength cycles and stuff like that. It's just not what you see, and it's just not as attractive as telling someone that, you know, 20 minutes, you know, you can get all of these results just by doing 20 minutes. Like, it doesn't work that way, and your body isn't designed for it either. Like, take that to the current situation. Like, a lot of us are kind of in a stressful or more stressful environment. Perhaps some of you are at home and stuff, like with kids and stuff. But HIIT training pushes you right the way into like the top end of that, like fight or flight mode, that real kind of big dose of stress. Well, if you're kind of stressed throughout the day and then your workout, then it's also another layer of stress on top of your body, then you're just constantly stressing your body the whole time. And what you probably actually need to do is maybe just go outside and go for a really long walk, or, you know, go for a nice, you know, steady state jog, or go out for a cycle or something like that. But it's just not nearly as glamorous, is it?
No. Yeah, and I think you know, I can imagine some people, especially in this lockdown number 3 we're in, I think this has affected the people more than lockdown. Well, lockdown 1, it was kind of new, not exciting, but people were just kind of going with it, and they could
and
really
there was
push.
The weather.
Yeah, the weather's nice. They wanted to get outside and
glorious.
train. But I think like the first 7 weeks of this year, you know, training might be down for a lot of people. They're not really in the mood. They don't know how to goal set, because they're trying to chase like too big of things, when really it just needs, well, let's just get structure in your training. Have like, how many days do you want to commit to? If it's 4 days, are you going to do 2 upper body days, 2 lower body days as a split? You know, are you going to incorporate one of those days going to have a bit of intensity? The rest of them's just going to be chasing like tempo and fundamentals. Well, it's like our training. So at the moment, Matt and I are doing a race series. So our week's built around, our week's built around Wednesday afternoon having a race. You know, that's the one day I need to be up to absolutely bury myself in a session. You know, there's no easy set. That day is the hardest day of the week, but in the rest of the week, I'm not dreading my sessions. I know, you know, I'm going to train this afternoon, and it'll feel, you know, I know exactly what I'm going to do. There's no stress about it. It's the fun approach. It's the fun side of training, and then I know on Wednesday I'll build up to bury myself, and then I'll recover after that. I think if you're someone that's stopped training, you probably had too many hard days, and then you kind of looked at training and you just kind of, I'll just wait till the gym's open, and that's not a good approach.
No, and I think people forget that there isn't any perfect training program, is it? It's just the one that you're actually going to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you turn around and be like, oh, this is the perfect training program, and if it involves lots of stuff that you don't like doing or you can't do, then there's absolutely no point in doing it. If you hate doing high intensity, then don't do a high intensity workout.
So what I think, what do people need to focus on at the moment? So training at home, I think kind of weaknesses, imbalances, tempo is a good place to start, right? Use this time to work on them.
Yeah, because I think so tempo. So that's basically when you're working for time under tension. So a typical tempo would be a 3-1-3-1 or something like that, or a 3-0-3-0. So that means, you know, 3 seconds on the way down, either 1 second or no pause at the bottom, and a 3 second on the way up. So for instance, if that was a squat, that works really well because one, you don't need a lot of weight for it. So if you are doing a squat, you can probably get like a really good workout from doing a dumbbell. But actually, it ties into what probably a lot of people's goals are, doesn't it? Because like it's just going to increase the capillarization of that muscle, so it's going to make that muscle more efficient. But also because it's more endurance based, it's going to make that muscle and your body's capacity to use fat as a fuel source just more efficient. So, and the idea around tempo is then just building up volume, which I think is the only thing that everyone can do at the moment, unless you've got a home gym where you've got where you've got enough weight to progress the weight up. Like for me, you know, I've got a place where I can do some pull-ups, and you know, there's 2 15-kilo dumbbells and stuff like that. The only way I can go is either layer on topping complexity or add more volume. So by that, more sets, more reps, you know, or you know, more time under tension. I can't really, without kind of strapping up loads of bands and stuff like that to everything to try and make it heavier. Like my best go-to, and probably a lot of people's best go-to, isn't it, is to just chase a bit more volume.
Yeah, have some fun, chase a bit more volume. Work on any weaknesses you've got now. Like you've got time, you know, you're not racing, you're not, you know, if you picked up niggles if you're a gym person, picked up niggles from barbell lifting or whatever, you've got time to fix those niggles, and you've got the lighter weights to do so. Work on weaknesses, work on any imbalances you feel you picked up, so when you do go back to the gym, you've got a more solid foundation to then start lifting. You know, you're not going to be setting PBs with dumbbells at the moment. But what you can do is build that foundation, so when you do go back, it's not such a shock.
Yeah.
So I think like I feel like where this conversation is probably going is like falling in love with like the process of training and being active. And for the next week, the weather's going to change. We got a taste of it this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's raining where you are right now, because I can hear the rain.
It's grey, miserable here at the moment. But yesterday was good.
Yeah, and that hot weather's coming, and if when the hot weather comes and you're in the mood to up it, you can only up it if you put in the groundwork prior to that. What you normally see is, I mean, I always say at Christmas, like people want to go 100 mile an hour in January, but they take December off, and then they come into January, and then they just kind of, their body's not ready to go 100 mile an hour. They're full of DOMs, they're full of aches and pains every single week. And that's because they took too much time off. So in this lockdown, whenever you're planning to return to the gym, or whatever your plan is for training, use this opportunity to get structure in your training, for another training again. Maybe apply an 80-20 rule. Don't always chase intensity, because it's just not necessary all the time. And there is a time to push it. I know you like to push it, I like to push it, but you don't do it every single day. Structure adds up.
And I think if you're you know, your average gym goer, like you turn up and you do a few classes, and you don't really do, you're not like, you wouldn't class yourself as like a bodybuilder or anything like that. You know, that little bit of structure and that little bit of consistency at a lower intensity is going to take you so much further than smashing the life out of yourself for the first week, and then not having the energy, or just getting burnt out, you know, physically and mentally with training, taking another 3-4 weeks off, and then you're like, right, I'm going to pick myself back up again, I'm going to hit it hard again this week, and then you smash yourself into the ground, and you just go through that cycle. You know, start off with, you know, just kind of picking up a couple of dumbbells, you know, doing some fun exercises that you enjoy. If that's, you know, if you're going to do bis and tris and some shoulders, great, do that, you know, half hour, you know, take the next day as a rest, and then, or take a couple of days rest, and then, you know, do the same for your lower body, and then, you know, go for like a jog a couple of days later, but then do that consistently then for a month, and then increase the volume, rather than I think the main problem is, and it's a lot of us, and I think we fall into that category more or less some of the times, is that people have got that all or nothing mindset. Like they're like, I'm either going to do all of it or none of it, rather than thinking, well, what would be better? What would be, it's not perfect, but I'm going to do something, and I think that's
but people trying to get fit in just 6 weeks only. I'm
yeah.
going away then. I've got 6 weeks. That's it. Give yourself a bigger run up and go through more phases. You won't approach anything else like that.
No.
No. Yeah. Okay. Good. So just to wrap this up then, because that was 26 minutes or so. That's gone really quickly. So just to wrap this up.
You could usually talk for a couple of hours. So
yeah, well, I don't think people listening want to listen to us for a few hours.
No.
So just a few final thoughts then, Matt, just to close on. So the purpose of this is to discuss things about programming and training at home. What should people be looking to do from this chat going forward?
So get yourself some basic kit. Hopefully, all the providers and stuff like that out there have resupplied and stuff like that. You probably just need a couple of dumbbells, grab that TRX, and maybe a couple of bands and a mat. I think a lot of people, I even forgot about a mat. I was like, you don't really need a mat. Like, you do. Otherwise it gets painful really quickly. So equipment, and then start off steady. Slow and steady is gonna win the race here. So steady with stuff that you enjoy. Just do a few weights to start off with. Go out and do some steady state stuff. Like, you're probably gonna need it, one, to clear your head. But it will do your body the world of good going out for a longish walk or a steady state run or a steady state cycle, especially now that we can start taking advantage of the weather. And then as you said, that structure and that consistency. Pick a volume in that week that you can think that's consistent, that you'll be able to do consistently. And start off with like a little bit less. If you think it's going to be easy, then start off there, and then layer up a couple of sessions in after that. If your goal is to set a goal 3 sessions a week, 4 sessions a week, set a goal for 4 sessions a week, then 16 sessions a month. That's where you can kind of measure progress. And it adds up. Good. All right, Matt. Well, thanks for joining me today, and thanks for everyone listening. I hope you can take something from that, and I hope you found it all useful. If you've got any questions about anything we've talked about, then please feel free to drop us a message. How do people find you, Matt? You're on Instagram these days? I'm intermittently on Instagram. We should do one about social media, or my social media. It's Matt_Alexander PT. Or you can find me on Facebook, the Strength Coach. So Matt Alexander, the Strength Coach. Drop me a message on there. I do get back to people, although I don't post as regularly as I should do. But if you message me, I will get back to you. If you've got any questions about training or anything that we've spoken about.
Very good. Okay, and I'll to make it easy, I'll put all the links to all that stuff in the bio below. Okay, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week for another special guest episode.